What is up, guys? A bit of a different video today, mostly because I wanted to work out without having to film. I filmed literally every single workout for the last 2.5 weeks, so I wanted to just really get in the zone, listen to some music. This band called the Normandy released their new album today, and I just really wanted to listen to it and vibe to it while I was working out, etc. You know how it is, sometimes you just really gotta get into it. So I also wanted to try out, a bit of a different style of content since this channel is quite new. And I am very much into self-development, as you guys can see. I wanted to just make a video like this. In fact, I've been wanting to make a video purely just about self-development for since I started, basically, so I just took the opportunity today. With that being said, I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on today's video. Let me know if you find it useful. Let me know if you like this style of content. Any feedback would be much appreciated. I would like to make this quite interactive today. So first of all, I'm going to ask you to grab a pen and paper, or just make sure that you have the notes on your phone at hand if you prefer to write on your phone. I know that I do, for example, but I know it's meant to be a lot more powerful to just write things by hand, but I've always been writing my thoughts and the notes on my phone, so I completely understand if you're used to that too. It absolutely works and there's nothing wrong with that. Second thing, there's going to be points in the video where I'm going to ask you to pause it and think about what to write down for a minute or two. I'll make sure to add some writing here and there on the screen as we go along. So I wanted to start with setting up the objective, so have a clear idea of what we're actually working on. And with that, I thought of the change, as the title suggests. And what does that mean? The change is essentially a step that you need to take in a certain direction. This could be bigger or smaller depending on how aligned you are on your path and what you want to achieve in life and how close you are to yourself. But the point is to find something that you want to change, and more importantly, that you could change. That detail is quite important, because what I'm really referring to is a change that you've been meaning to make for quite a while and haven't been quite successful at it. I know for sure that if I say that, there's something that comes to your mind, because that's the case for me, that's the case for everyone. We all know there's something we could change and we would change that we haven't yet, because there's some sort of friction, some resistance. And that's exactly what we're going to find out today. So first thing I want you to write down is the change. What it is that we want to work on, what it is that we want to change, what is that change that we want to make that we're struggling to make. And with that, I want to get extra specific. When you think of it and you write it down, I want you to make sure that this change is tangible, actionable, it needs to require consistency, and it needs to reflect self-love. So it's 4 things. Tangible means that it needs to be quantifiable. You need to be able to grab it and use it. So something like, I want to believe in myself more, it's not quite tangible. But something like, I want to lose 10 kilograms of body fat, it is. So try to be as specific as you possibly can with that. Then it needs to be actionable. So it needs to be something that you can do, something that requires doing. So again, something like, I want to start trusting people again. It's not quite actionable. But something like, I want to start talking to my dad about my issues with him, is definitely more actionable. Then it needs to require consistency. So it would be ideal that it's not just something that you do once, but it's something that requires consistency over time. Meaning that you do it multiple times. It needs to become some sort of habit. Something like, I want to go to bed 1 hour earlier every night. It requires consistency over time. And then it needs to reflect self-love. This is quite self-explanatory. Of course, we all have a different idea of what love is, but we're talking about something that expresses self-care. So to give you an example that kind of has it all, that perhaps is related to fitness, I want to lose 5 kilograms of body fat. Very specific, quite tangible, definitely actionable, because it requires doing it, it requires taking action. It also requires consistency over time, because it's not something that is going to happen overnight. And of course, it reflects self-love, because it's going to promote longevity and just self-care overall. So you can go ahead, pause the video and think about what to write. Brilliant. Now we're going to play a little game we can call pros and cons. The first part of the game is quite simple. I want you to split your screen or the page, whatever you're using to write down, into two different columns. On one column, you're going to write down at the top the pros of making the change. These are all the positives that come with making the change. These are all the reasons why you want to make the change. Let's just focus on that first column for now. Think about it, maybe a little bit longer than a minute or two, however long it's needed, and just make sure that you write it down. It doesn't have to be one reason, it can be multiple reasons. Make sure that you're quite honest with yourself and you go in as much depth and in as much detail as you can when writing down the answers. You can go ahead, pause the video and write down all the pros of making the change. Quite simple, right? Now let's move on to the other column. The cons, the negatives of not making the change. Again, this should be pretty straightforward. These are all the reasons why you don't like the position that you're in and you want to change it. You should already have your answers at the top of your head, so you can go ahead, pause the video, and let's write them all down. So pros, positives of making the change, cons, negatives of not making the change. Amazing. Now, let's move on to the second part of the exercise. This is where things get a little bit more difficult and it's going to require a bit more thinking. I want you to turn the page or scroll the screen down, whatever it is you need to do, and create two columns again. The first one, we're going to be writing down all the pros, all the positives of not making the change. This is going to get you thinking a little bit. And it's going to require a lot of honesty with yourself to really find out all the positive aspects of your current situation. These are the very reasons why you're so comfortable where you are. The list can be as extensive as it needs to be, or if you really hit the nail on the head and the answer is one or two reasons, quite simple, you can go ahead and write that. So take a few minutes, really think about it. Let's pause the video and let's write down all the pros, all the positives of not making the change. Great stuff. Now, the final part of the exercise, the other column, we're going to write down all the cons or the negatives of making the change. Again, a little bit more difficult this one. It's really going to require some truth and honesty from your end. Think about all the negatives of making the change. These could be the things that you're afraid of. These are all those little voices in your head that are telling you, no, don't do it because of this, don't do it because of that. These are also going to be all the things that you know you're going to have to let go the moment that you make that change. Think about all the pros of not making the change, the positive aspects of staying where you are, of not making that change. Those are all the things that you're going to have to let go or modify, readapt. So it's very likely that in this other column, in the list of the cons of making the change, you're going to find reasons that kind of mirror the other one. So let's go ahead, let's pause the video, let's think about it and write it down. First of all, well done. Congratulations, you completed the exercise. Only you know how hard this was for you to find that honesty, to find that truth in yourself. And in that sense, you might not be used to this level of honesty with yourself. So make sure to somewhat celebrate and give yourself a pat on the back. Now, you're probably already starting to connect the dots, but you might still be wondering, okay, but what do I do with all of this? What you have in front of you, this list of reasons why you're struggling to make the change, that is your resistance to the change. That is what is creating friction towards making the right steps in the right direction, towards initiating that change. Now that you have a lot more awareness of what is really going on, it will definitely be a lot harder to make excuses and easier to find solutions. Any tangible, great transformation starts with a moment of truth. And this is what you had today. So make sure that you use it, make sure that you keep being honest with yourself and being aware of what is really going on with you. When you know that you're supposed to go to bed earlier and you don't. Don't fool yourself with blaming the circumstances. Think about what it really is that is creating friction. What are the benefits of not making that change? What are the things that you're so attached to that you're finding it hard to let go? Because winning, succeeding is a lot more about letting go than it is about anything else. It's about being aware of what you're going to lose the moment that you succeed, the moment that you move on to the next phase of your life. And sometimes we're so focused on what is missing when in reality it's about making space for something else to come in. Anyway, I'd like to expand more on this and carry on working on undoing the knots and getting rid of that resistance. So I'll make sure to make more videos like this, if you guys enjoyed it, of course. So leave a comment below, let me know what you think. And if it's your first time here, I'm posting a video a day for a year straight. So make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.